Bernie Sanders, even by a smaller than 10%. Given the way proportional the distribution goes, he can't pick up delegates. It will be portrayed in the media as a victory. Bernie Sanders is behind in this race. He's the one who needs breakthroughs, not Hillary Clinton. He needs an outright win here if he's going to change the dynamic of the race.
And Ruben, when you look at the huge crowd that Bernie Sanders was able to assemble yesterday in Washington Square Park, 27,000, he actually exceeded the number that Barack Obama attracted when he was running for president the first time around. That's impressive. Doesn't that mean that Bernie Sanders does have momentum and maybe the Hillary Clinton camp is downplaying expectations because she's seeing that?
Not at all. I agree with Peter. I think that it was impressive, the crowd that was there last night. But the reality is what we saw in the Bronx yesterday, for instance, 1,500 people, precinct captains, district leaders, elected officials.
But you said 1,500 people.
Yeah, but those are 100% of our crowd of quadruple prime voters and people who are going to bring folks out. And that's happening throughout the city. This is a lesson in campaign efficiency. That's what happened in the Bronx. It was impressive, and it's good to see that young people are motivated, but you'll see on Tuesday how we're going to pull out the vote for Hillary.
And I think that Ruben may have a point because there were a lot of people, and I don't want to downplay it because that's an amazing number of people to attract, but he was right by NYU. Many of those people probably can't even vote. Can't even vote in the state of New York.
It's a multicultural, multi-aged. I mean, listen, that's a hub. West 4th is the subway stop. Everybody comes into West 4th. That is a hub in New York. But I have to, combat that point, Ruben. I'm sorry. That reeks of machine politics to me. And what Bernie Sanders is doing by attracting these voters, these disaffected voters, these new voters, these independents, the concern here is that the New York primary is so closed. I know you were talking about this earlier. It is so closed with so many different deadlines. Registering to vote with the party in October. That was well before the rhythms of the campaign started, before the debate started. And that hurts the Democratic Party. And who sets those policies? This is a Democratic-controlled
state. Yeah, but Bernie Sanders did all of this. He's been in politics for 30 years.
But he can't control state.
I know, but he
that's
knows
the problem with the Democratic Party.
And I know that you're maligning, machine party politics? Is that what you said? But doesn't he have to master that too to win?
No, because the difference is that we are a different party. We are losing Democrats. We're two independents. We are not registering Democrats that are young. And the problem is, the heart of it is this machine-style politics that exists in states like New York, Illinois.
Can I jump in for a minute here?
You're great, though.
When you talk about Democrats and democratic values, it's about looking at problems and coming up with solutions. And that's what we've done in the Bronx, and that's what we're doing throughout the city of New York. The people that you saw in Co-op City last night are folks that see that the Bronx has come back in a big way, that New York has come back in a big way, and that we've had a friend in Hillary. And when you look at Bernie Sanders, by having her help us with federal funding for housing, by having us help us with funding for transportation. She's been with us there on healthcare.
She's passed 3 bills in the Senate. This is something that people don't talk about. Her record in the Senate is abysmal. 3 bills, 2 to rename
facilities. What about Bernie Sanders?
The amendment case. He passed more legislation. That is.
When he moved out.
New York State.
Okay, Peter, you're the neutral voice. You're the neutral voice.
Look, Bernie Sanders does better with independents. So he does better in states where more independents can vote. He also happens to do better in caucuses where many, many fewer people vote. So it's not always the case that more voters help Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders does better in states that are caucuses, states that are overwhelmingly white, and states where independents can vote. I happen to agree that it would be better if New York made it easier, the Democrats made it easier for more people to vote. But the basic problem that Bernie Sanders faces is this. If you can't be competitive with the African American and Latino vote nationally, you can't win a Democratic nomination. And he has, yes, but in terms of the overall numbers, unless you can get beyond 20-30% and start getting closer to 40-50%, he's not going to be a serious challenge.
So those voter laws block people when they're under 50. He is winning with people of color across demographics under 50. The voter laws are designed for those older voters who've been living in those districts, who've been registered for many years. The new voters, anybody who grew up in the new millennium, they're moving around. I mean, people who've been hurt by the economy are moving homes left and right. I mean, I lived in a new apartment last year. My friends have lived in apartments last year. That hurts the Democrats. And when the Democrats control the legislature in New York, and they set those laws, and they depend on turnout, and then they look at the party and wonder why the numbers are gone.
Bronx County is the largest Democratic county in the state of New York. And when you say Democrats, how are having Democratic values? Again, we've created jobs. We cut unemployment by 50%. We built housing. We've done it all in a sustainable way. All the things that Bernie talks about, we've been able to actually implement it in the Bronx, in the city of New York, with the help of Hillary Clinton. So that's the reason why you're going to see that all of us are coming out and supporting a friend that's been there for us. And it's going to be great, a great victory on Tuesday night.
So one word that will describe the debate tonight from each of you. What is it, Ruben?
I hope it's substantive, but I also, understand that ultimately we all got to come together and beat the Republican in November.
Okay, one word.
A bunch of New Yorkers.
Exactly. Peter?
Look, compared to the Republican debate, it's actually very civil and very substantive.